back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm good at alcohol. It'd be nice to be able to talk about alcohol, wouldn't it? It would be fucking nice if being an alcoholic was the worst of your problems. There's fucking bigger fish to fry. Now, 2020 has just fucking lit up. First it was the fucking bushfires, then COVID-19, the restrictions, then there was a locust plague going through Africa and India. Now there's the riots, there's fascism. By September, China will be in Australia. I'll be doing this podcast hiding in a bush in the middle of the night as the Chinese army run past me like in my reoccurring nightmare. 2020, just let me, please, give me an opportunity to talk about myself for a little while. The footage coming in from the US now is pretty fucking rough. I saw some footage of somewhere in New York with the National Guard going down the middle of the street, surrounded by NYPD Blue. That's not what they're called, is it? That's the TV show, isn't it? Boys in Blue. NYPD Boys in Blue. That's what I meant. The NYPD police force. Just screaming. Fuck, they're aggressive. Get in your fucking house. And then the people who weren't in the house, they were shooting paintballs at them, which sounds kind of fun. So I'm watching that footage and then I flip over and then I see there's a protest in Sydney, Australia. And there seem to be a lot of people there and I appreciate the sentiment. It's great. You got to show solidarity and unity with the people. But you could just tell there was no backbone to it at all. Like it was all show. Like if one police officer walked into the middle of that crowd and blew an air horn, the whole crowd would have fucking dispersed. It wouldn't have even need to have been a cop. It could have been a security guard or just a 7-Eleven employee. It wouldn't have mattered. Just one air horn, it would have been over. And I'm not saying Australians don't have balls either. I'm just saying the wrong people at these protests at the moment. Australia is full of fucking criminals. Every second person's a fucking criminal. But that type don't generally get out to protests on the weekend. I mean, if there was ever a shortage of meth, then there would be a fucking riot in the streets of Australia. And I can guarantee you this, that crowd would tear the whole fucking joint down. And they've made ANTIFA a terrorist organisation. Can you believe that shit? I can tell you this right now. Antifa is not even organised enough to throw a fucking house party. Antifa is pretty much made up of art student dropout bongheads. That's it. I'm friends with the guy who used to be the head of Antifa's Sydney chapter, if that's what you call it. He's a comedian. He was my favourite fucking comedian when I first started comedy. He was the best. One of the best comedians in Australia. Then he got all politicised, dropped out of comedy, joined Antifa, and then became the head of Antifa Sydney for like a couple of years or whatever. But he basically said he had to leave because Antifa was pretty much unemployed bongheads who had dropped out of university and were just sitting around smoking weed in fucking shitholes talking about how they've got the great ideas to change the system. He said to me, he's like, those cunts couldn't even change their fucking underwear. What are they going to do? Change the fucking system. You never have to worry about the student element. At worst, they're incompetent bongheads. At best, they're petty vandals. And that's who Antifa's made up with mainly, predominantly in Australia. The students have balls up until a point. Up until they think they're going to get in big trouble. I remember watching London. London had riots a bunch of years back. I can't remember when. But they had like 2 sets of riots, if I remember. Forgive me if I've just completely made this up. But this is how I remember it. They had riots and there was a student riots going through London at one stage. And it showed them on the news and there was like students climbing flagpoles and like yelling out shit. I think they did a little bit of damage. But I'm looking at them, I'm like, this isn't even a fucking riot yet. This is students. The hooligans aren't even involved yet. You haven't got the fucking housing commission boys there yet. There's no thugs in that crowd at all. And then not long after that, they had the real London riots. And the criminals came out. I think it was for something similar, wasn't it? Didn't a black guy get killed in London? I could be making this whole thing up. This is fucking ages ago. I can't even remember. But then the lads came out and they really fucking tore the joint up. This is messier than the old days. In the old days, when they protested, they had fucking leaders. and they just took out the leaders, and eventually you take out enough leaders and the whole cause falls apart. But this is just chaos. This is just everyone out there. I saw footage, fucking John Jones, UFC light heavyweight champion John Jones. There was a couple of white kids doing graffiti on cars and shit. John Jones walks up to him, sort of chases one of them, puts his hand out and says, "Give me the fucking can." And the kid just hands him the can. And then he walks over to the other kid, snatches the can out of his hand. It's like, yeah, I'd be giving John Jones the fucking can too. Whatever side John Jones is on, I'm on his fucking side. Even if you had 30 Antifa kids, I'm pretty sure John Jones would be able to knock out cold 25 of them. He wouldn't even need to get through that many. After he head kicks 5 of them and spinning elbows 4 of them, their will's going to be broken. At that stage, you've got 2 choices. You can either shoot him or run away. And I would suggest, unless you're a good shot, fucking run. Because if you miss, you're fucked. I just hope everything simmers down, everyone's safe, so I can just go back to talking about myself. That's what I want to talk about. I want to make it about me. Alright, that's it for tonight. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. I'll see you the fuck later.